Good morning, boys and girls. Oh my goodness. Did everybody stay up late last night? Yeah. Good morning, boys and girls. Wow. Let's try that a little better. Good morning, boys and girls. Oh, that's better. That's better. I love it. I love it. Children, you look great this morning, and thank you for being here today. And, I'm feeling a little off too, just like you guys are. And I don't know what it is, but I feel like something is not right today. And I can't figure out, maybe you can help me figure it out. I don't know, it feels like, no, I don't get it. Is my hair kind of messed up? Did I forget to comb my hair this morning? No, my hair's okay? Okay, did I forget to put my glasses on? Because sometimes that happens, I forget to do that. No? Okay. Am I wearing the wrong color vestment? No, well, the deacon is wearing green, so I think I got that right. Did I put my shoes on the right feet? Yep, I did. Okay. I don't know what's wrong. I feel like something's off, and I don't know. It's been bugging me ever since I woke up this morning, and I was hoping maybe you could help me figure that out. What's wrong? What? What's wrong with my socks? They're different colors. Oh, that's what it is. Goodness, I look like Christmas here, red and green. My mistake, my bad. They don't match. And it kind of looks funny, doesn't it? Yeah, it does, right? That's important for us to think about, especially as we listen to Jesus' words today in the gospel. He's asking us to be like him, even though sometimes it might be hard to do so. And to be like Jesus means what? Who can tell me what it means to be like Jesus? What does it mean to be like Jesus? It means to be a good person. Good. Real loud, please.
It means to be brave and kind.
Be brave and kind, okay? Okay. Help others, yep. What else? Pray, good. Be respectful, okay. What else? To attend church, excellent. Don't say curse words, very good. Pay attention, excellent. Do you have something? To be nice, excellent. One last one. To listen to God, okay. Did you have one? Be kind, and you had one too, I think. To show love. Those are all great answers. That's what it means to be like Jesus. We want to match Jesus' words and actions, don't we? Just like we want to match our socks, right? Even though sometimes being like Jesus is hard, we have to make the effort. Because if we don't, if we say we love Jesus, but we fight with our sister or brother, that doesn't look right, does it? It's like two mismatched socks. So I want you to remember this goofy example today of my mismatched socks as an example of what happens when we don't live our lives like Jesus, and we look kind of funny doing it, okay? So I want you to go back to your parents now. In today's gospel, Jesus asks his disciple, who do people say that I am? And then he takes it even further and asks the disciples personally, but who do you say that I am? And we could take that question as being kind of a Christological question, meaning the theology of who Jesus Christ is and what can we say, like in one sentence or one word, what Jesus is or who Jesus is. And there are some responses that we hear in the gospel that indicate that type of approach. But Jesus is really asking for something more than just a highly theological question. It's really a more relational question that Jesus is posing to us. Who do you say that I am? And the way we can think about this is to think about when people enter into relationships with each other. People start seeing each other, and you get to that point where a couple has to ask themselves the question, wait, is this a date? Are we on a date, right? Because when that happens, certain kind of expectations fall into place, don't they? The expectations of how to behave, how to act, what to say, and that's important. And as that relationship develops, then you get to that other stage where a couple may ask themselves, well, what are we? Are we a couple? Are we, significant others? And again, the answers to those questions force or kind of impose certain expectations of now that this relationship is evolving, that we need to do or observe certain things in order for that relationship to continue to flourish. And then they get to that question, are we fiancés? And then eventually, of course, will we marry? And with each level, of course, growing expectations of how we should relate to each other. Think about it that way in terms of the question that Jesus asks of his disciples and us, who do you say that I am? Because it really is more than just a theological question. It's a relational question. Who is Jesus to us? What does he mean to us? What level of intimacy do we have with Jesus? And as such, what is required of us in terms of how we live our lives in relationship to Jesus? And we, of course, have to look at that on both an individual level and on a communal level. On an individual level, we have to look at how we live our lives, the choices that we make in the day-to-day, whether it be at home or at work or at school. And as I talk with the children, sometimes being in that relationship with Jesus is hard because we want to perhaps do our own thing, which is sometimes contrary to what Jesus is asking of us. But we know that in human relationships, when we start to do that, we get into all kinds of problems, don't we? Ideally, when two people are in love and in a committed relationship, whatever level they're at, they live in a relationship where their goal is to support the other person, mutually, each of them supporting each other. And sometimes that support means a significant cost. Sometimes that support means that you're going to let the other pursue perhaps their dream, their passion, even though perhaps it might be difficult for them or might even come at certain risks. You may want to protect them or maybe protect yourself and shield them from any perhaps harm. But you know that ultimately, in order for people to be fully self-actualized, they need to be who they are. And our job is to help them in that process. I think that's behind Peter's response to Jesus. First, he gets it right when he says, "You are the Christ." And when Jesus begins to explain what it means to be the Christ, that involves dying, Peter responds like perhaps any one of us would have done. Peter wants to shield Jesus from the harm of death and perhaps shield himself from the loss of his friend Jesus. So he tells him, no, Lord, don't do that. And that's why Jesus responds in such a forceful manner. Because he's thinking only about really his own concerns and not really thinking the way that God does, what God has ultimately in mind. And so it is with human relationships. In our relationship with Christ, with Jesus. Individual choices are not always easy when we consider that. And then we also have to look at this relationship on a communal level. What does it mean for all of us as a church, as a parish, to be in relationship with Jesus? And there again, sometimes those choices are not easy. We can look at something as simple as, here as a parish, we say that all are welcome, and I'm glad we do that. That should be our goal. All are welcome. But truly, are all welcome? What happens when the child in the pew next to you starts getting a little squirrely in mass, or begins to cry, begins to make noise? Do we turn around and give the side eye to them or to their parents? If we do, I think we're making a huge mistake. I think a vibrant parish is a parish that is filled with people of all ages, including children, because that means that parish has a future. Believe me, I've been in parishes, no offense, I've been in parishes with lots of gray hair. I have gray hair too, so I can say that. But that means that that parish has a tough future ahead of itself, because there's nobody else coming behind to take their place. Thankfully, we don't have that problem here at St. Andrew. We have lots of young children and young families, and thanks be to God for that. But what is our relationship to each other and our responsibility to each other? Will we support parents as they come to church? And I know what people are thinking, because sometimes I am tempted to think the same. Some might be tempted to think, well, when I was raised as a child, we didn't dare make a noise or a peep in church. It's true. That's how I was raised up. I mean, we would sit and we didn't dare to move in church. And even parishioners in the other pews would comment and compliment my parents on how well behaved we were. Great. Can we talk about the years of therapy I've had to go through to deal with the sense that, I might say the wrong thing at the wrong time in the wrong place? That's been a part of my life. Do we really want that on children? Now, of course, sometimes a parent may have to take a child outside when it gets a little bit too much, and that's fine. We have that huge open space at the entrance of church. If kids want to stretch their legs a little bit, we can do that. Our job is to support parents and not to condemn them with an evil look. We say that we support life, that we're pro-family. And that's what that means. I know sometimes the people are also tempted to think, oh, but Father, when I come to church, this is my time to pray, and I don't want to be disturbed by some kid crying or some kid playing with their toy on the church pew. Here's the problem with that way of thinking, though, my friends. This is not a time for private prayer. I know some people might be shocked about that. This is a time for communal prayer, because the liturgy, by its very nature, is a communal act. We're all in this together. And our spiritual lives should be time for prayer, private individual prayer, and time for corporate prayer, like liturgy, like Mass. We need to do both, but we can't supplant one with the other, say that we're going to just use Mass as our Mass time and our prayer time. It doesn't work that way. We'll be constantly frustrated. My dear friends, I feel passionate about this, that our task as a parish is to help parents and families, to help children grow in their faith, but more importantly, to grow in their knowledge and love of God, that they know that there is a God that loves them. How will a child ever feel that they are loved by God when they get the evil look? They won't. Actually, the exact opposite will happen, because they'll associate coming to this sacred space as a place where they're judged, where they're condemned, where they're not welcomed. What a tragedy that would be if a child grew up with that mentality, but it's a possibility. Being a disciple of Jesus is hard. And sometimes it requires us making sacrifices of the things that perhaps we would rather prefer. Hopefully we can do that, my friends. Because if we can't mirror who Jesus is and who Jesus wants us to be, then worrying about whether our socks match or not is really pointless at that point.